So, good morning and welcome to the last session of this discussion. And we have been talking about business research, and especially in master degree program, because few of you may be interested in MPhil or PhD work, and few among you would be interested in some business analytical kind of job, right? Or maybe if you are planning to start your own venture in each and every stage, right? Whatever occupation or profession you're gonna choose, or you are going for higher study, or maybe you are going for further research, you will see if you have this basic understanding of research, right? And what we have done, we have given a basic understanding of research with one layer of business. Suppose you want to start your own business, or if you are working for an MNC, or even you are just thinking of starting your PhD or MPhil work, there also what you need to learn, you need to understand these basics of research. And now you will see lot of advanced tools and techniques in research. Especially these tools and techniques are uh, from statistical point of view I'm talking about. And whenever we bring statistics in our research, basically what we are doing, it's not only describing some data, not only about average, standard deviation, range, right? But statistical, as stats as a subject, we have been using to understand that if we have some sample from the respondent, how we can generalize that output or outcome uh, with the help of statistical tools and techniques. So now statistical tools and technique have been playing a very important role. So if you are studying statistics, I request you all, please study it carefully, read it carefully, understand it, and beside solving some sums, what you need to do, you need to see how you can use these all tools and techniques in practical way or in real life, right? So that would really help you when actually you conduct a research, because when you think of conducting a research, it's all about using statistical tools and techniques. So I have seen 80 to 90% research is basically a primary kind of data research, where we actually design and develop a survey, go to respondent, collect information from them, and then with the help of some statistical tools and techniques, we analyze the information. And finally, we interpret the outcome or the result. So this is a very simple process. So if you are good in statistics, really it's gonna help you for further study or higher study. Or if you go for some kind of analysis, or maybe if you're working for an MNC as a business analytics, then definitely stats gonna help you. So you need to understand at which point, which platform you will be using it, because now we have, as I mentioned, advanced tools and techniques. And these tools are like, we have some software also. And if you don't want to study these softwares like SPSS or R programming, I hope you are well versed with the Excel, MS Excel, right? So Excel has all those features which comes with the SPSS or with the R programming. So if you know how to work on MS Excel, then definitely it would be a kind of competitive advantage for you, because generally researchers, PhD students, they prefer to use SPSS or R programming. But here, if you know Excel, MS Excel, then you will have a competitive advantage, because everybody can access Excel, MS Excel, and they can easily understand the MS Excel. And all, you know all tools and techniques hypothesis testing, or everything you can use with the Excel. So that is the beauty of Excel. Even I was not knowing much about Excel, but recently I attended one workshop. There I learned that we have very important advanced feature in MS Excel. So you don't need to go for SPSS, you don't need to go for R programming, which R programming you need to learn coding. Thanks we have R commander, it's look like a menu card. It's like SPSS now, right? But if you know Excel, that will really gonna help you. So all these advanced statistical tools and technique you can use in MS Excel also. So generally, when we think of collecting data, this is our responsibility to frame your questionnaire in such a way so that easily you can capture this data either in Excel sheet or in a SPSS spreadsheet, or you can put it in CVS form in R programming, right? So data whenever you collect, generally nowadays we collect data online through Google form. This is very common now because of COVID-19. Physically we are not able to visit our respondent, so we request them that we have this Google form and please fill it out. This is generally happening nowadays. Now, when you collect information with the help of a Google form, one good thing is there that a respondent cannot submit a Google form until or unless he or she go through all the responses. That is the beauty, because there is a option where you make it mandatory to the respondent to fill out all the questions. So what you need to do whenever you are collecting data with the help of Google form, this is the beauty of Google form, that you will have real-time information with you, how many people have responded. And good thing is that you have an option that person respondent cannot submit until or unless she or he has gone through all the responses. Now, but here there is an issue that we float our questionnaire on LinkedIn or maybe a Facebook or through email. So I don't know whether you are using convenience sampling or purposive sampling, right? Or if you know your target customer and you have used random sampling method or systematic sampling method or strata or cluster, right? So if you have using that and then you are sending to a limited people, then it's okay. Otherwise, if you are floating like anything, either it would be a convenience sampling or a purposive sampling. So when we use statistical tools and techniques, actually convenience sampling is not permitted. It's not recommended. So this is one issue. So what we need to do, we need to be very careful when we design and develop questionnaire, that we already have discussed, right? Second, when we are approaching our respondent, we have discussed that if you are approaching a respondent, you need to take consent from them, right? Otherwise, in future they may be they may put you in a such kind of situation that you wouldn't be able to use that information, or they can sue you also, because sometimes privacy matter comes into picture. So you fall into that, you indulge into that issue or problem. So here you need to be very careful when you are collecting data, because one thing, that is it a sampling, which sampling tools here are you going to use, so that uh, you need to take care of, right? And secondly, when you collecting data, you need to take permission from them. And third, very important thing, because now you know your questionnaire, now you know your questions, what kind of questions you're gonna ask. And we have discussed in last class sampling error that we need to minimize so that we can collect the accurate information from the respondent. Now, you collect information from the respondent. So that is maybe in Hindi or English you collect, you design, develop some questions and ask a respondent to give response, right? Understand the questions and give response in terms of different attributes. The attributes could be yes, no, like it's a nominal, right? Low, medium, high, right? Class interval, or maybe the exact data. So this kind of attribute we collect. Now here we have one issue. Can we feed this information as we have received as it is in the SPSS, R programming or Excel sheet? So if you put it is as it is, maybe that your computer doesn't understand, your software doesn't understand what you're looking for, what you wish to analyze. So what we need to do, first we need to check, is there any information or is there any question which has not been answered by the respondent? So you need to take care of that, right? We have a different method, but we are not going to discuss it here. But you need to take care that is there any particular, because in Google form you will see there is no chance that respondent will not give answer, because here you have an option. You make it mandatory that respondent has to go through all the question and response to all the question and then submit the form. So this is really good. So what you need to do, you need to check each and every answer, right? And sometime what happens, for example, just think of your class, right? Your class, your own class. If I want to study the average height of your class, right, it would be approximately 5.3, 5.4, and if I put a range, it would be between 5 to 5.6, right? Not less, not more than that. But when you collect data, there may be a chances, there may be instances where you will see that a lot of people, they are exception to your research, right? In the sense, there may be instances that someone is there who has got height of 6.5. There may be a chances that someone has height 3.5 or something like that. So these are, these may sometime, these kind of information sometime can disturb your whole outcome. So what you need to do, so whenever you see this kind of information, better you remove them from your data, because on the one side it is showing the central tendency of data on an average. This would be height or a weight of the of your institutions. Now students of the institution, now because of one or two or few respondents, they are exception to this particular research. So it's, as a researcher, it would be our duty to edit that, in the sense you can take decision to remove from your research, otherwise it will create problem. It may, will not represent the right kind of information. So that means if some information is missing, and second, if some information is exceptionally there, then you need to take care of that information. Now second point, as we have been mentioning, that you cannot put the data as it is in the what you call the software, Excel or SPSS or R programming. So what you need to do to make computer understand, to make software understand your data, you need to give some kind of coding. For example, if you want to give information to your computer that how many male and female you have, so generally what we do, we give some value, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 0 or 1, to represent male and female, right? So each and every question, generally we give some kind of a coding Because you cannot put the whole question as it is in the software. It is not possible, right? So what we generally do, instead of putting the whole question in the software, we give some code. For example, we give 0 1 0 2 0 1 to first question, 0 2 to second question, something like that. And then in labeling we can give a reference that 0 1 means what, 0 2 means what. And secondly, when you are feeding this data in SPSS, you need to tell SPSS that this data is ordinal or interval or scale, right? So that the computer can understand. So you have one option where you have to codify and tell the computer, tell the software that this data is in this particular form, right? And then what you need to do, as I have mentioned, you can see the central tendency, or you need to see the normal distribution of your data. And for that, we develop a uh, V-shape, normal distribution curve. So we are not discussing much about that, but that could be also just to see that how far your data is normal. And how we see it, as I mentioned, if I check the average height of your class, then it would be approximately on an average very close to 5.4. So most of the students, 68-70% student, would be falling very close to this information, right? And then slowly then we can go for little kind of dispersion, right? So this is a common practice. If you see some extreme value, that would be exception. So you need to clean it, you need to check it. So we call it cleaning, editing, and coding. So I hope you understand that whenever you collect data, you need to edit it, clean in the sense exception you should remove. If there is some blank, that you need to take care of, and then give it some coding so that we can use it in some kind of software, right? Very simple process. So let us continue, and let me tell you. So we have discussed this data editing and coding. Now when you collect data, basically we collect data in different form. First is univariant kind of data, right? Or we call it univariate analysis. So what happens in univariate analysis? Generally, this is basically we call it quality of life research, right? Univariate analysis are used extensively in quality of life research. What does it mean? We will discuss about that. Univariate analysis is a form of quantitative statistical evaluation. So you have some form, you have some information which is quantitative, right? And it would be in some statistical form. That means we can use statistical tools and techniques for evaluation. It is the simplest way to analyze a given data. Suppose we want to study the marks of business research. So this is a one kind of information, one kind of data you are collecting from the respondent. Now here you want to check how many got more than 60%, how many secure between 50 to 60%, right? So on one kind of data you are using all statistical tools and techniques. That's why it is the simplest way to analyze a given data. Uni stands for unique and variant stands for variable. So in other words, the data that has only one or single variable. So if I say business research, this is a one variable, right? This is a one variable. Your income, one variable. So we can say that, okay, what is your income, how many of has a income more than 1 lakh rupees, right, more than 2 lakh rupees, something like that. So on one single variable, if you are collecting data, if you are analyzing it, we call it univariate analysis or univariate data. Univariate analysis are different from bivariate analysis, because in bivariate we have more than one, that means two variables. So two variables here, for example, your marks on the one side and your you you spend hours in study, right? When you're studying, how much time you invest. So on the one side the hours, on the other side you secure marks, right? So here you have a two variables. Then you will see whenever you are using some kind of statistical and tools and techniques to analyze two variables, we call it univariate analysis. There may be a cases that you want to see how much time you spend in study and how much marks you secure. Third could be mm, the online learning and online teaching, or offline learning. That could be another variable. So now here you have been using more than two variable. We call it multivariate analysis, right? So here we have two or more variables simultaneously. So generally, when we do research, we actually go for two bivariant, and in many cases we go for multivariate data analysis also. So it is very simple. So if you are going for a single variable, you are studying a single variable, you will go for that. Okay, so we have been talking about univariate analysis. So we have discussed that univariate analysis are different from bivariate analysis. In univariate we have one variable, in bivariate we have two variable, and in multivariate we have more than two variables. Now let us continue with univariate variables. Here, when you have just one variable, you cannot say that it has got some relationship with other, or it is going to affect some other variable got affected by some other variable. No, we can't do like that, because here we have just one variable. So we cannot go for regression. We cannot go for regression. And its a major purpose is to describe. That describe in the sense that, for example, in your class we want to see height wise we can describe your class. How many students got a height of 5.4, more than 5.4, between 5 to 5.4, or less than 5, right? So what we are doing, we are actually here in univariate analysis, we are describing the information. So you are summarizing the data, or you show some kind of pattern that in last 5 years, if you see the marks of a student, on an average you will see marks has some kind of uptrend or downtrend, that it is increasing year by year or it is coming down year by year. So we are taking a one single variable. So its sole purpose is to describe one aspect of a piece of research. So you're not covering different variable, different dimension of a particular variable, but here what you are doing, you are just describing a particular variable, not more than that. Univariate analysis, a variable in the univariate analysis is just a condition. Like I give you a condition that those who secure more than 60%, we need to select them, right? So we have a one subset, those who got more than 60%. Another subset, those who got between 40 to 60%. So that in that way we can have a subset of this. So we can give a condition. So in t-test, I believe we have one option where we check uh, this subset or this condition. This means that the number of cases in a particular category is analyzed in one of these chosen means of presentation, right? So that we can do. So that information we have, that we believe uh, that most of the student in MCOM, their height is equivalent to, on an average, it's equivalent to 5.4. So that we have to check. So here what we are doing, we are giving a condition. After collecting the relevant data for a particular variable in question, a researcher can then determine the number of measures regarding the distribution of the data. There are three main types of univariate analysis. First, frequency. I hope you understand that how many students are there have got a height 5.4, how many got more than 5.4, how many got between 5 to 5.4, how many has height less than 5. So now you have a frequency. Now you have student against all these four different conditions. So this is frequency you can have, right? So generally we do like that. Then second, we have a measure of central tendency. What is the measure of central tendency? We call it mean, median, and a mode, right? So these three we can use, and we can go one more step ahead. We can see the dispersion, range, variance, maximum, minimum, quartile, interquartile, and standard deviation. So we have one variable and we can go up to these kind of statistical tools and techniques. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, I'm sorry. So let us continue. Um, so frequency, you all aware of. What is the use of frequency? It refers to the number of times an event or result is observed in a given data, such as the number of times a particular score occurred. It is also possible to calculate relative frequency, that is the number of students who achieved each particular score divided by the total number of students in the study, referred to as a percentage. So we can have a percentage. Then relative frequency are better to interpret than frequency expressed as a simple count. So I'm not going to discuss that statistics, but I hope you understand this relative percentage. It is also possible to evaluate frequency distribution and relative frequency distribution for grouped data. For example, the number of percentage of students who secure within a particular interval, such as between 0 to 10 or 11 to 20. As far as measure of center tendency is concerned, there are simple statistical models that provide information about the typical representative or average score in a distribution. Although other measure of center tendency exist, the most frequently used are the median, mean, and mode. But here remember, you need to use your mind, because you need to see a situation where you're supposed to use mean, where you're supposed to use median, and where you're supposed to go for mode. We have a data and we can use that data for mean, median, mode. That's okay. But here the situation and the context is also important, right? So you need to check beside data the situation, the context, so that you can use data properly, and then when you interpret it in a right manner, right way. The mode is the value that occur most frequently in a data set. For example, I can define here mean, median, mode with one example. One shoes company, they saw that this mean is so good, so they decided to use mean for their shoes manufacturing. And then they observe that on one fine day, approximately 100 buyers, they came to showroom, and approximately uh, 50% buyers, their shoes number was 6. Another 50% buyers, their shoes number was 7. So they decided to use mean of that, because they saw mean is a good tool. And they found that now what they decided, because 50% is having shoes number 6, remaining 50% shoe number is 7, so they mean it, they find mean of it, and decided to manufacture 6.5 number shoes. So they order immediately that we are using this mean to manufacture our shoes, and the shoe size was 6.5, right? So sometimes this kind of small mistake happen, and when they launch these shoes 6.5, those who has got 6 shoes number, feet number, it would be bit loose. Those who got 7, it would be bit tight, right? So you need to take care that which tool you need to use, right? Should it be mean, median, or mode? So that's why I'm saying that you see the context also before you go and use the mean, median, and mode. So the mode is the value that occur most frequently in a database. The median is the middle value in a distribution, the 50th percentile of the distribution. On the other hand, the mean is the average of all the values in a data set, which is calculated by swimming the value and dividing by the number of observation. I hope now you understand. Generally, when you are in school or colleges, we use statistical tools and techniques just to remember formula, and just to remember where to fit the formula so that we can get the answer. This is happening, right? Just please find out uh, that is it just the formula important, or the kind of data important, but more than that, in what context you're gonna use this statistical tool and techniques. So I hope when you will be doing your I hope in master also, if you have a subject called statistics, you might have learned a lot as far as application or interferential part of the statistics. But actually when you go for MPhil or PhD, there you actually use these tools and technique, and then you understand the importance of these all statistical tools and techniques, why to use, where to use. Practically actually you use them when you go in master and for higher study. Otherwise in bachelor and school, in generally we learn the formula and see the kind of question we have, we put the formula and get the answer, right? So in central tendency, measure of central tendency, the mean is the most frequently reported measure of central tendency that you all know. Sometimes it is possible to find out a mean, median, and mode for a data set, but there are cases when one measure of central tendency is preferred over the other, that we already have discussed. The mean is affected by extreme data value, whereas the median remain unaffected. Therefore, the median is unusually considered over the mean in case where data is not normally distributed. Where there are extreme data values, when there are unknown or missing data points. Now you understand that where we need to use mean and where we need to use median. The mode is preferred when the data are measured on a nominal scale. Now dispersion, I'm not going to discuss it much. Another characteristics of data that can be examined using univariate analysis is the way the data is spread out or dispersed around the central tendency. How far this inform, how many people are away from 5.4 height, right? So that is basically we are talking about how spread the data is, right? How many people on an average their height is uh, away from 5.4, which is the average height of a particular class. Another term for dispersion is variability. Common statistical calculation of variability include the range, variance, and standard deviation. These all you have studied in your bachelor's course and in your master if you have subject called statistical tools and techniques, basic statistics, advanced statistics, business statistics. I hope you all know dispersion, range, standard deviation. Range is the difference between the largest score and the smallest score in a distribution because it is based on only two score values, the largest and the smallest. The range ignores the remaining score value and does not provide any information about how the data is spread between the smallest and largest values. Therefore, sometimes an interpolar range or semiconductor range is computed. Now, there are many ways to visualizing data with univariate data: frequency distribution tables, bar charts, histograms, frequency polygon, and pie chart. Now comes to bivariate analysis. So I hope univariate analysis is clear to all of you. And bivariate analysis are done to determine whether a statistical relationship exists between two variables. So you can take any two odd variables, like for example, we generally discuss intelligence and your performance, maybe in terms of marks, maybe in terms of your performance, in terms of your income you earn. Maybe there could be different way to define performance, right? And intelligence, how you capture the term intelligence. Is it that you are very good in mathematics? Is it you are very good in communication skill, right? So there are different way to capture these different variables or constructs, but here we are having two variables, right, in bivariate analysis. Y means two and variant stands for variables. So in other words, the data that has only two variables called bivariate analysis. The degree of the association, if one does not exist, and whether one variable may be predicted. So we have two kind of research here to see what kind of association are they associated with each other. So we need to have two variables to see up to what extent they are associated. So first, as a researcher, you need to check between two variables, are they associated with each other? So that is our role, that is our responsibility to see up to what extent we can say that they are somewhere associated with each other, right? So statistically we check. I don't know up to what extent you can call it in right context, but we check it statistically that are these two variables associated with each other, or if they are associated, then are they going to affect each other, or one is going to affect the other, right? So that I hope you remember we discuss example of smoking and securing grades in a class, in a study. Both are kind of odd variable, right? So what I do before we discuss further about bivariate, and so we have been talking about univariate, and now this is bivariate analysis. uh, Bivariate analysis are done to determine whether a statistical relationship exists between two variables. Y means two, variant stands for variables. So in other words, the data has two variables. And as I mentioned, generally whenever we have two variables, we go for some kind of relationship, before that some kind of association, and then we check is one creating some variance in other or not. So that generally we do. So here we have one example. You can see bivariate analysis could be used to answer the question of whether there is a relationship between attendance of a student and the marks obtained by the student. So we can see a association, relationship, or you can see how attendance gonna affect the student marks, right? So sorry. So this is a bivariate analysis, right? Similarly, if you have more than two variables, that would be a multivariate analysis, and there you go for regression, and where you see how different variables gonna affect the dependent variable. So this is the basics of business research, what we have been talking about, what we have been discussing. And one more thing, may have panel data also, like we have some kind of trend pattern that also we can use and see kind of relationship, how they're gonna affect each other, that also we can see. And finally, what we need to do on the basis of this information, we need to write a report. So I hope now you understand from a selection of a topic, then what kind of questions you supposed to answer, then objectives, and then we discuss research design. In research design, we discuss that how to collect data, what kind of sampling method we need to use, what should be the sample size, and will it be through some questionnaire or through some other method. And then you need to see whatever data you have collected, is it univariate, bivariate, or multivariate data, and then accordingly you go for analysis. So in this subject, business research, we don't have much advanced analysis. Otherwise, we would have discussed, we would have gone further in validity, reliability, because that is about questionnaire and data you have collected. And then we would have gone for exploratory factor analysis, right? Exploratory factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis, and how to use SPSS or R programming, or we would have gone for hypothesis testing. Here we are having, in this subject, we are discussing the basics, that how to design hypothesis, that we have discussed, what are the variables, what are the construct, what is the concept, what is the process. So that all we have discussed. So if you propose some study, if you are interested in some project, so I hope now you have a basic knowledge of how to select a topic, how to write design research questions, objectives, and then further go for research design. So this is whatever we have discussed in last 2-3 months. The summary was that whatever as a researcher uh, you define, you describe, you should have justification of that, and justification comes when you go through review of literature, right? So review of literature play a very important role. Whatever you are writing, you should cite some information, you should justify with some references, right? So it's not only about testing hypothesis, but talking about your research questions, research objectives, and what motivated you to select a particular topic, and most important, what is the research gap. So you need to define and justify the research gap, then you can work on a particular topic. Because if you feel that I feel so, no, you can't do like that. You need to have right kind of justification. It should come from review of literature, and that's why I always say for review of literature you need to dig more, and we have a scopus where we have 45,000 journals. What you need to do, you may have your area of interest, right? That's fine. So that area of interest, that particular topic, you search in Scopus, and there you will see a good journals, and select one or two journal, not more than that, right? And go through last 3 year, 2 year, 5 year copies of that particular journal, because that journal would be very specific, would be talking about your topic. And when you go through all the papers published in that particular journal, it gives you some confidence that what kind of variable, what kind of research has been conducted. And in limitation and future research, they give you somewhere some idea that this work has not been done yet. So in future, researchers can take it and can work on that. So that really help you to find out the research gap. Right. So we are done for our business research. Now, if you have any question, you are most welcome. Right, everybody?